Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Revere City Council Public Subcommittee on Public Safety. We have several items we have to discuss tonight. I don't know if we'll get to them all with a half hour, but we'll work on it and see what we can do. The first item is 18-257. It's a motion by Councilor Rotundo that the City of Revere change its building code to mandate any building with 50 units or more must maintain an AED in its lobby. Any comments from any of the members, the councilors? Thoughts? Yes, no, maybe? No. Well, believe it or not, I tend to agree with something similar to this, but I think we ought to reduce to 50 units because we're talking about life-saving items here. And my thoughts is over 6 units in multiple story buildings have one on each floor. Because by the time someone runs down to the main lobby on the 6th floor building, the person's not going to make it with without an AED. So I think it should be closer on each floor. So I don't know if there's any thoughts from any of the councils on it. Council Powers?
I think that's a good suggestion. Actually, you know, you're 100% right. If you're waiting for an elevator or something to get down to the bottom, people have a hard time getting down those stairs, elderly people. I think it's very important, and one on each floor, I think, would work. Particularly with all of the buildings that are coming online now, and the hotels also. You know, any building where there's people, with the part-time residents of living there, I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a great idea. I wish I thought of it, but I think it's a great idea. And I was wondering if also, if we could make it mandatory in Revere, like, I don't know if Target has one or, some of the stores, but it would be necessary to have something like that in some of these stores. I don't know if they do or not, but maybe we could make it mandatory in Revere.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're mandatory in stores yet, like we did with the hand cleaners, but it's something that we can recommend to the site plan review committee. This wouldn't be an ordinance, it would be a recommendation to site plan review that the city council recommends that AEDs be installed in buildings more than 6 units, and there must be one on each floor of the building. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay. Gentlemen, on my left.
I just have a question. How much would these, how much they cost?
I'm not sure. I know we have one in City Hall downstairs on the main floor. Probably a couple $100.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
What's your point?
Thank you. I don't have the specifics. I know that we've gotten some for a few fields in the city of Revere. Obviously, we were lucky to get some grants that helped cover the cost, but typically what I've seen is anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per unit, yes.
Yeah, that was my point. I mean, for a six family,
More than 6.
it'd be,
Over 6.
it's quite an expense. Yeah, okay.
You still want to go with it and make that recommendation? Well, we'll take a vote.
On the motion as amended, that the City of Revere change its building code to mandate any building with 6 units or more must maintain an AED on each floor.
Can we change that to over 6 units?
With more than 6 units, with more than 6 units, must maintain an AED on each floor. Okay. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Rotundo is absent, and Chairman Novoselsky.
Yes,
Yes, the motion will be forwarded to the full city council as amended.
thank you. Next item is 18-263, motion by Council Rotundo that the mayor, fire chief, excuse me, and police chief meet in executive session to speak about the security profile at the very successful Sandcastle event. If anybody have any comments on that? Go ahead, Chuck.
I'll say something. First of all, I don't think our chief of police and the fire, I think it's the state police that run that. So I don't know if this is, they're the ones that make up the plans, if I'm correct.
You are correct,
So I
Counsel.
don't think this is necessary for us.
The only one that has any input on that, other than the city with their financial, is the fire chief because of the fireworks. Council Powers.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to include the Revere chief, along with the commander of the barracks on the boulevard, and the fire chief, while it's on the boulevard and it's on Ocean Avenue, the heavy traffic, it creates traffic all throughout the city. And I think the chief of police should be involved in that 100%, as well as the commander of the barracks. Thank you.
Anybody else? If I may, honestly, I think right now this is out of order. I think it's January coming on to February, and this event doesn't happen until July, and they don't start talking about the safety and security until April. So, I don't think this should be addressed at all. They know what they're doing. Excuse me. They know what they're doing, and I think we ought to leave it alone.
Mr. Chairman,
Council Pash.
I certainly agree with you. I don't think it, can we just table this?
Table it or place it on file? Place it on file. Motion, place it on file. All in favor? All opposed? Vote so ordered. The next item is 18-280. This is something that's in Council Powers' ward. It's a motion by Council Morabito that the mayor requests MassDOT to investigate the feasibility of re-allowing a U-turn on North Shore Road between Sharman Street and Revere Street for traffic traveling northbound on 1A. Residents traveling to their homes in the lower Ward 5 neighborhood must wait as severely congested Revere Street traffic. Further, this would help alleviate the traffic in the Revere Street area by not forcing certain traffic northbound. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion pretty much speaks for itself, but observing that area, what you see is you see a backup from Revere Street all the way back to where the Wonderland Garage is, where the Rotary is. The sole purpose of this motion is to obviously alleviate traffic and to have MassDOT look at feasibility study to see if it's feasible, if it's going to relieve traffic. I'm not a traffic expert, but I think it's worth giving it a shot and having them take a look at it. At one point, there was a U-turn at that location along 1A. So I'd like them to revisit a U-turn and see if it's feasible.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I happen to live in the area, so I'm well aware of the traffic conditions down there. And there is an opening there. As a matter of fact, as I was coming up here this evening, I was waiting for the light to turn green to get down to 1A, and 3 cars made an illegal turn from 1A into the neighborhood. This may benefit 1 or 2 people that are concerned with this, but I have to speak on behalf of the neighborhood. We have a playground that's adjacent right there. I don't want to see a situation created where cars and trucks are continually turning into this neighborhood and going up to beat the light. It doesn't work. You're putting public safety at risk, I think. I can understand Councilor Morabito making this motion. In the perfect world, I suppose it might work, but we're not in the perfect world. We've got a lot of people that don't live in that neighborhood, that would be coming into that neighborhood and putting public safety at risk here, so I'm against it 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Hey, well, then before you speak, Counselor, I want to ask anybody else that may have any comments. Any other comments from the right side? Any more from the left side? Counselor Morabito.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be willing to amend this, and actually, there's a potential opening at the beginning, right after the rotary, that someone could do a U-turn. So technically, they wouldn't have to go, they would not be able to take a left into the neighborhood. They could do so if someone made a mistake and inadvertently went the wrong way on that rotary, they wouldn't be forced down Revere Street or forced to the Pines area, which would increase traffic to those areas. It would allow them to do a U-turn right at that first opening, and if there was a mistake, and it would help alleviate traffic. But once again, this is for MassDOT to do a feasibility study to see if it would alleviate traffic, because I think we all can agree as counselors, we want nothing more than to alleviate congestion in the neighborhoods, and I'm sure the people of Revere would appreciate that.
Mr.
Counselor
Chairman.
McKenna. Counselor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is I think there's a left-hand turn up, not too far from there. There isn't? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I question as to, what making a U-turn there would accomplish, because if you made a U-turn there, you're heading back south on 1A. There's no other street you can go into except maybe the Wonderland parking lot or down to Yelwad, Mr. Chairman. So I just question the purpose of that. And I know if that is opened up, you're going to have traffic every 10 minutes, cars going through there, going up to beat that light on Revere Street, and I'm 100% against it, and I want to be recorded as against it. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, the purpose
Counselor Morabito.
would be, if you go up 1A North, there's a left turn only lane, which means when that light turns green, that left lane, you have 30 seconds it changes within 30 seconds. So it allows 3 vehicles to go take a left down Revere Street, which resulting in cars backing up all the way down to Bell Circle. So the purpose would be to allow a U-turn if someone inadvertently made a mistake and went around the rotary or was coming from the lower North Shore Road area or from the beach area and inadvertently made a turn down 1A North rather than going around toward Bell Circle.
So you're talking about a U-turn at the lights on Revere Street?
A U-turn, to allow a U-turn anywhere from the beginning of where the rotary is to Revere Street.
I'd be against that, making a U-turn at that opening there. It's going to result in cars going into the neighborhood. There's no question in my mind about it.
Councilor Powers, I respect your
And I
view,
I
but
respect your position, and I'm sure somebody has requested this in the neighborhood, and I'm against it 100%. Thank you.
and I would still like to see MassDOT investigate it as well.
If I may, there's actually 2 openings between the Rotary and Revere Street. One at the MBTA garage with people coming out of the garage. The other one is at the MBTA open parking lot, which is the one goes down onto Sagamore Street area, if I'm correct. And they both at this time have no U-turn signs and no left turn signs on them.
Mr. Chairman, also
So-
at Revere Street, you cannot take a U-turn.
I'm not questioning that. Right now, I'm worried about Council Powers neighborhood with people using that as a cut-through and not for neighbors and people coming down Sagamore and going up towards Revere Street just as a cut-through to avoid the lights.
I was sitting at the lights tonight, I had 3 cars
And
do that, take a
I-
left-hand
you know-
turn off of 1A and go down into the
With
neighborhood.
all respect,
Thank you.
Counselor, MassDOT, number one, I don't think they would even consider it, and they would have to change all the light cycles down there, and financially, it would be a major, major, major project, having to make a deceleration lane, a turn lane, and I think, personally, I think it would be too much for the neighborhood, so,
Mr. Chairman, can I close with some
1 minute.
1 minute, counting, right? So
59,
why not
58.
put it before MassDOT, have them conduct a study, or have them look into it? Have someone who has the experience, someone who is an expert in this area, who can make a decision. If there's a motion upon us that could potentially alleviate traffic, they're gonna look at all the variables. They're gonna look at, will this be dangerous for the residents? Will this cause more accidents? Or will this help alleviate traffic? I don't see the issue of putting this before MassDOT and letting them decide. It's in the best interest of the people.
Mr. Chairman, if that is the case, and this goes to MassDOT as a recommendation, I want to be registered as against it. Thank you.
I wouldn't think that this is a recommendation. I think it's only part of a feasibility study for them to report back to us. And that's the way I would ask that it be.
Well, I'm going to vote
worded,
against it anyway. Thank you.
that it be worded that way. On a vote from the committee, a roll call.
Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch?
No.
No. Counselor Powers?
No.
No. Counselor Rotundo is absent. Council President Guanasso?
No.
No. And Chairman Novoselsky?
No.
No, the motion receives an unfavorable recommendation to be forwarded to the full city council.
I want to jump to item 18344 for a 148 license at 650 Ocean Ave. We have Colleen, you here? Come on up, please. This is 18344. It's a request for a Chapter 148 license by TA Revere LLC at 28 State Street, 10th floor, Boston, Mass., requesting a Chapter 148 license from the Revere City Council for above-ground storage of 6,020 gallons of gasoline contained within 301 vehicles to be parked in a parking garage at a residential apartment building at 650 Ocean Avenue, Revere, Mass. Name and address for the record, please.
Colleen Wynn, 650 Ocean Ave, Revere, Mass.
Okay, now, just so everybody knows, TA, if I'm correct, TA Revere LLC sold the property? Is that correct?
Correct. They sold the property to us. We closed on the property September 20th, not knowing this license, that they hadn't showed up previously for it until I met with Paul Cheevers as the new owner from the fire department.
Just through you to the city clerk, does this make an issue with a change in ownership?
No, they would just complete if this is approved, they would just complete the general information form. The license runs with the property, not the owners of the property.
Okay, so whatever paperwork you have to do, see what, it's already done?
Yes, everything's
Okay.
done. We just need to pay the license if it's approved.
And what's the name of the company?
It's Greystar Revere. Greystar Management Revere.
Greystar, okay. Any comments from the audience, from the
Mr.
councils? Council President Guanasso.
Mr. Chairman, this is exactly what we need. We want to get cars off our streets, put them in the proper place where this parking garages were built for this purpose, and I think Ocean Avenue would be beneficial to them, all the residents down there, and the vehicular movement to free up that area. So this would be well within the provisions of this council to go in favor of this particular asking. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just before I pass it on to Council Powers, right now, their parking garage is a paid parking garage. So the residents pay for their parking spaces. I did talk to management this afternoon. I told them most of our feelings, that we don't want people forced out into the street and parking on Ocean Avenue, and that it should be considered in the next lease
Roll it into the
turnaround,
rent.
that they included in their rent.
Right.
So that will stop the people from not wanting to pay the rent out onto the street, which is Ocean Avenue, and most of us have had a problem with that happening.
Absolutely.
So hopefully you'll consider that when the new leases come up.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree. I think we're all in agreement with getting traffic off of Ocean Avenue and other streets in the city. And my feeling is as long as Deputy Chief has input into this and is agreeable, that I would support it. Thank you.
Yeah, he has approached them, so they're aware of everything that's going on. Any other councilors with any comments on the committee? Okay, roll call, please.
On the Chapter 148 license for a residential parking garage at 650 Ocean Avenue, Counselor McKenna?
Yes,
Yes. Counselor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes,
Yes. Counselor Rotundo is absent. Council President Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, the Chapter 148 license will be forwarded to the full City Council with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, we'll be bringing this up tonight, so we'll probably vote on it. I don't see anybody going against it. If you wish to stay, you may, to see the final vote. It'll come under our committee reports, which is within, a half hour of, I hope within a half hour of the beginning of the meeting. So if you want to leave for the rest of the night, we'll leave that up to you. But thank you and good luck, and I look forward to working with you. Yep, bye-bye. Go back to the regular order of business, 18-281, motion by Councilors Janino and McKenna, that the mayor requests the DPW to investigate the feasibility of using more visible paint colors for crosswalks. The Revere Beautification Committee and the Beachmont Improvement Committee would like to see a brighter color, such as red, to draw more attention to the crosswalks. Councilor Janino, you're first on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is something that came about after a conversation with the Beachmont Improvement Committee. So I'm working with Councilor McKenna on it, but we're just open for ideas and to see what works best. It's just an idea. It's not something that we're saying we want to do right now and have it planned out, but a lot of surrounding cities and towns are doing it, and it's working for them. So it's something that we should have a conversation about and figure out what works for us. But luckily, it's not one of those motions that we have a set deadline or something crazy that we're really pushing for. So I'll let Councilor McKenna, if she has any other insight on it, take over. Thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
Councilor McKenna.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we established that red was not a good color at night, that we wouldn't be able to see it. We also discussed different colors that cause seizures and epileptic fits for, the people that are sick, special needs. So we really haven't come up with the color. What I have seen around the city is that Mr. Argenzio has restriped all the crosswalks, and they're bright and white, and they look great. So I think this is a discussion that we need to have further, but there are different colors that we cannot use because people can't react to them. So, thank you.
Councilor Rizzo. I'm sorry. Councilor Guanasso. Then Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the fact that white has always been the most visible color everywhere, and I think it's cost-effective if we'll wait for the comments from the Director of Public Works, but I think the least expensive way to go would be white, and there's different variations that we can use of that. But I just think that what we've done in the most recent months is to improve all the crosswalks, paint them white, and to me, it's quite satisfactory. Don't fix something that's not broken. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I'm just wondering, I'm not a big fan. I know exactly what the counselors are referring to with colors and the crosswalk and stuff. And you know, just on a personal level, I'm just not a big fan of it. The main thing for crosswalks in my mind has always been safety. And of course you want it to look nice, but the main thing is the safety of it. And I kind of, you know, just my thinking is that maybe a reflective white paint or something like that, just where people can see, you know, a crosswalk as they approach it. But one thing that I've seen in some cities and towns, and I don't know if there's any grant money that's available for this, or it's something that we can take out of our, our block grant money or something, and maybe just over time, trade out some of the sidewalks. There's some communities that have almost like brick pavers in the middle of the sidewalk, and I think those look really nice. The brick pavers and then the white on the outskirts of it. Those look nice, but I don't know how much something like that would cost. I don't know what the appetite of the city council or administration is for it, but I personally think that, you know, the ones that I've seen look really nice. And I don't know, Paul, if you have any commentary on that, but I'd love to hear it if you do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morbido.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say I do agree with Councilor Rizzo. I do think the white lanes are more visible. But Councilor Keefe and myself put in a motion which was passed before this council, to put in LED crosswalk lights, and I think that will help as well at major areas, because I think the intent of the motion is to see more, have drivers be able to see the lanes. So I think that's going to help down the road as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Before I say my piece, I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Chairman.
When the council first brought this up, Julie DeBar and myself did quite a bit of research as to what was considered the most visible color and things like that. And it was kind of the consensus that white is the best way to go. We've just gone out to bid, and we have a new contract in place. We want to start moving toward thermoplastic instead of the oil-based paint. It's much more reflective. It lasts 2 to 3 years, where the painting only lasts about 6 months. So there was some money that the mayor put aside and granted by the council for a capital expenditure. So we have a substantial amount of money to start that process early in the spring, doing the yellow center lines and the crosswalks in white, obviously yellow center lines. So we're going to be starting that process as soon as the weather breaks in April. We're starting with Broadway. We're going to see how far the money gets us. We want to start doing around some schools and things like that. The only thing with the thermoplastic, you have to have a real good asphalt base. So putting it on a road that's kind of broken up and what have you, it'll probably have to be paved first or repaired first. But we're going to start the process this spring. We feel as though the thermoplastic, highly reflective, gives you the best vision at night, especially colors. Although aesthetically look very nice during the day, they really don't show up at night. So that's where we're going to be moving in the spring.
Thank you. The reason I let you go first, because I knew Julie was involved in it. I didn't know how deep you two were working.
Yeah,
but,
we did.
You know, I like the idea of the thermoplastic. I didn't like the idea of the colored crosswalks, because there were colorblind people around, and they can't read the colors. So it wouldn't matter what color you put on.
Right.
But the white and the white stripes, I think would be the best. And may I suggest that where we don't have smooth, good asphalt locations, that temporarily, until those are paved, that we get those painted by the standard.
Yes, it'll be a combination of the two. We're going to
Yeah.
put thermoplastic where appropriate or where we can,
Right.
but we will still continue the painting process where
Right.
that isn't possible.
Okay, any other comments from our councils? Do we want to place this on file at this point, because we're not doing what we want to do? Okay. Motion to place it on file. All in favor? All opposed? Vote so ordered. And I think we have time for one more. Counselor Rizzo, I know you have 3 or 4 in here, but we don't have time to take care of all of them. Is there any? 285, place on file. All in favor? All opposed? Vote so ordered. Anything else, Counselor?
If we can take up one, I would like to take up 18-350.
350, okay. Go ahead, say your piece.
Yeah, it's a motion that was put in months ago. I venture to say probably 6 or 7 months anyway. Just to have the chief come up and appear before the city council, similar to what he did, I didn't have a chance to see it, but similar to what they did at the school committee, to talk about things that they're doing to keep our schools safe during the day. I mean, that's one of the things that this council, and actually the city side of government, has oversight of, is the school safety. Why we can't get a report up here as to what's being done. I know I've talked to some teachers throughout the various various schools and throughout the district. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been very encouraged by what they've told me in terms of training for any type of catastrophic event. So the only thing I want is just a report up here to us. If it has to be an executive session, I don't necessarily know why it would, but if it has to be an executive session, we'll go into executive session. If it doesn't, I think the city council would like to know what the city's efforts are and what we're doing to make sure that every student and members of the school department faculty are all adequately protected. It's a question that I'd like to have answers to. I don't think that's very unreasonable. And to just get an answer back, well, we told the school committee about it, I think that's incredible. That's a slap in the face, not just to me. I take it as a personal slap in the face. I think it's a slap in the face to this entire city council. I mean, I know it's, everyone up here is concerned about it. Why can't we get a report on what steps are being taken? Back when I was mayor, I remember, and I don't even know if they still use it, but we had implemented and signed a contract with a company where every teacher had access with an icon on their desk that if some major event were to take place in a classroom, they could click that icon and the closest cruiser to that particular school would immediately be contacted, so they didn't have to, there wasn't this wait. They could start to respond right away. I don't know if that's in place. I don't know, I never had the chance to follow it all the way through. But I just want to know what we're doing to make sure and, ensure the safety of our schools. It seems every week, certainly every month, we hear about another school shooting and another attack of some sort. What's bothering me the most right now is not the fact that I don't necessarily think that our schools are safe. I hope and trust they are. I just want to have somebody come up here and tell us, to let us know what efforts are being made and that yes, everything is being done. We're leaps and bounds ahead of every other school district in what we do to make sure that our school district is safe. So that's all I want, Mr. Chairman, is the chief to come up, as I requested months ago, to give a presentation to the council. It can be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to take up all night. So that's my piece, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors want to comment? Counselor Zambudo.
I certainly support my colleague in his efforts. However, I think there may be an instant, and we spoke about executive session, where we don't want to telegraph what we're doing for preparedness put out there publicly, but I certainly would like to know what we are doing. Absolutely. Thank you.
So we'll add that on to the motion, that we go into executive session somewhere down the road when we can schedule it. Okay. Any other comments on that? All in favor on the motion and the substitution? All in favor, all opposed, vote and so ordered. Okay, we're gonna call it quits because we have another committee meeting going on in a few minutes. So thank you for your time, thank you for your efforts and your input to all the members and all our councilors. And we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.